Well, thank you all so very much for being here. I really appreciate it. And you know, when we started this process, and before I actually get started to talk about the process and what we were looking for, I want to say a special thank you to our committee. Coach Candrea provided us fantastic feedback. I also want to say thank you to Assistant Coach Amanda Beard. She provided great expertise. Our FAR, Dr. Velarde, we appreciate his holistic approach to the student-athlete experience. Also, we had several administrators that were part. Morgan Basil Dominic, Matt Hayes, we have Kristen, I see, oh, there's Amanda back there, Coach Beard, and I learned a lot about the breaststroking technique, so thank you, Amanda. But I also, let's see, oh, yes, John back there, thank you all very much for your hard work on this search. I also want to say a thank you to our student athletes. When we were developing our candidate profile, we met with our entire team. We had every single student athlete speak, and they provided what they were looking for in their next head coach. Their feedback was incredibly critical, and I'm very appreciative. You know, when we developed this candidate profile, what we were looking for is someone with the character to be able to lead these young men and these young women. And character for us is defined as selfless, smart, hardworking, and to have that integrity to be able to do what you say you're going to do. That is what we expect of all of our staff members. Then as far as the competence, we needed someone who could see our student athletes as more than a time. Someone who recognized that these are someone's sons and daughters with hopes and dreams. Someone who could build culture, build that championship culture, but culture always starts with people. We looked for someone that was a proven winner, someone that is a tireless and relentless recruiter, and someone who can really thrive in the modern era of college sports. In Coach Ben Loorz, we found just that person. So without further ado, okay, we don't have a jersey, but we've got a swim cap, so we're going to hand this over. Coach Ben Loorz. All right.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Desiree. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Really appreciate the opportunity, Desiree, not only just to be here today, but to lead this really storied program. University of Arizona, swimming and diving. As I was coming up through the coaching ranks, it was the brand, and to be standing here today is a really great honor. Of course, I have to also thank my wife, my family. Moves like this are big, and their support is really meaningful to me, and couldn't be here without that. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't thank all the student athletes, the coaches who I've had the opportunity to work with over the years. Certainly the last 8 years at UNLV, I had a great mentor in Jim Wrights. He was the head coach there for 30 years, and had some amazing student athletes and staff members. We all know in the world of athletics that it's really about the student athletes, and that as coaches, we just benefit when they're thriving and when they're doing what they do, but they're really the ones getting it done day in and day out. So, I really have to thank all the people who've, just been entrusted to my care over the years. One thing that makes me tick as a coach is the ability to work with young people as they go through their journey. It's about growth, it's about improvement, it's about getting better at what you do. And that's not only just the times. I mean, that's swimming. You can measure that pretty readily. But it's also about their growth as humans, into leaders, to be able to work with people as they, go from age 18 to age 22, as they're really like going out into the world and becoming the leaders we know they can be is a really special thing. And so that's something that I don't take lightly. We had a cool validating moment this spring. The Moneyball stats in swimming are a little slower coming than some other sports. But there's a new company in this space that tracks a lot of data in that regard. And they approached me out of the blue this spring, and they're like, "Hey, Coach, just so you know, we're putting out a graphic that basically tags you guys as one of the top 5 like improving programs in the country, like and able to move the needle with your student athletes from like senior year of high school to senior year of college. That was a cool moment, validating for me as a coach, because that's what I've always been about. Obviously there's fewer stats on that regard in terms of moving the needle with character from high school to college, but that's equally important. So that's what I am about as a coach, and one thing I look for in our recruits, and one thing that I'm intending to bring here to the University of Arizona, which, by the way, it's been such an amazing thing to be here so far. Just the athletic department, has just been so welcoming, and the Tucson community has been so welcome already. I really appreciate that, and that just excited to get the ball rolling and hit the ground running.
All right, and we'll start with questions for Coach Loorz.
Coach David Kelly, Wildcats Radio 1290. So who called
Hey,
you
David.
first? Did you call Desiree first, or did she call you first when this job came in?
I was honored that Desiree reached out, when they began their search.
What was that first conversation like as you expressed your interest in this position?
Sure.
She expressed her interest in uniting with you.
Yeah, well, I mean, Desiree's first question is, "Are you interested?" And I said, "It's University of Arizona Swimming and Diving, of course." How can I say no to an invitation like that? Really, I mean, the amount of amazing swimmers and divers who have come through this place over the last decades, it's an honor to stand here. And so when she asked that question, of course, it was a pretty obvious answer.
Jason?
What was the challenge like of coaching two different teams or one team in two different conferences?
Oh, I see. Yeah. So, I think it's always a challenge coaching a men and women's combined program, and that's something that is unique to where I've been coming from, and that's obviously the role here as well. That's not every program in the NC2A, but it is here. And so I like that challenge. I think it's different than most other sports. The challenge for conferences was more of a travel challenge than anything else. You still have to make sure you have the right people in play so that when you're on the road with the women's team, you've got somebody you can trust taking care of the men's team. Obviously here in the Big 12, that is a combined championship, men and women together. And so that changes the challenges because generally the men and women's teams taper and rest for major championships a little bit differently. And so that provides its own challenge. But as we're in the era, more and more our elite athletes really need individualized plans in order to succeed and be at their very best. And so that's something that, is more and more a piece of what we program anyway. But yeah, excited to be able to go to a men's and women's conference championship together again in the Big 12. That's a really cool thing. It's hard to replace the energy of a championship like that, and excited for it.
Questions for Coach Loorz?
I've got one.
Kim?
Kim Doss, Arizona.
Hi, Kim.
District 1. When you think about getting Arizona back to where it's competing for championships, first thing you need to do, what is it?
You need to have the right staff in place. So, that's really the critical piece is the people. And I've been blown away already by all the support staff that surrounds not only swimming and diving, but all of our athletics teams, just from the dietitian, the strength and conditioning staff, the academic advisors. I get a chance to meet with a lot of them today. That's a huge piece of this puzzle. But the swimming and diving coaches, making sure that we've got a team that's going to motivate, but also challenge the student athletes in the right way and care for them and make sure that, as they fall down, they get picked up, and as they succeed, they don't get to rest on those laurels, but get challenged to attack the next one.
What are the core principles, I guess, in how you build your programs?
Yeah. So, there are some different categories we can take there, but in terms of training, I believe that our speed changing is a key to what we do. We work on agility in the water, and I believe in teaching. So those are three of my key training principles. I'm a teacher at heart, and I believe that our athletes need to be well taught. And so in that space, I believe that all of our student athletes need to be well taught, well trained, and well coached. And I think those are three different categories. There's a lot of Division I programs out there that just recruit talent and train the talent, and that can work to a certain extent, but I think it falls short of what the true potential of any athletic program should be. And so we're going to take the time to teach our athletes not only techniques and breaststroke like Desiree mentioned, but just how to go about their life and do business better. We're going to take the time to coach them, which means taking care of them as a whole person, and we're going to train real hard.
PJ?
PJ Brown, Arizona Desert.
Hi, PJ.
Arizona Daily Star. And I was wondering where your passion for swimming comes from.
Yeah. I was a multi-sport athlete growing up, and in the swimmers that I worked with as a coach and the swimming coaches that I worked alongside and was mentored by, I just found a great group of people. I think that's where the passion comes from. I think, of course, that every sport has value, and every sport puts characteristics and virtues in the people who practice it. But we do find that different sports maybe emphasize different characteristics or virtues more than, like every sport's a little different in that space. One thing I like about the swimming world, and what I find that swimmers get, is a real tenacity, a real patience with the process, a real hardworking work ethic. Anybody who's done swimming more than a minute, the Scott back there, it's a lot of 5 a.m. mornings. I love that, working with that type of community. Sometimes other coaches will be like, oh man, we got double days. I'm like, double days? That's like 365 days a year for us. So I like that about swimming.
And what was your experience working with Desiree in the past?
Yeah, I really like that Desiree runs a professional ship. Her expectations are high, and that's something that's a good fit for me. And I like that she is student athlete centered and focused. I was talking to one of my alumni last week, actually, who came by the pool at UNLV to say goodbye. As a young man who was a junior when I took over. He was a senior and a post-grad athlete when Desiree was in charge at UNLV. And he came by to say goodbye, and he was like, oh, I just really like Desiree. I was like, tell me, I didn't know that you had that much of a relationship with her. And he was like, yeah, I stopped by her office several times, during my senior year. And every time she stopped what she was doing to talk to me. And he's like, that meant a lot to me. He's like, that was the only athletic director I had in my career who operated that way. He's like, I really like her. You're going to have a great time in Arizona.
Jason?
My question was kind of along those lines, that what does it mean to be her first hire here?
Oh, just an honor. Yeah. To be honest, I know Desiree looks for the very best in the business. And, when I got that text, a few weeks ago, I was just like, told my wife right away. I was like, hey, Desiree just texted. And I won't tell you exactly what her response was, but it was like, whoa, what an honor. It was really, means a lot to me, for sure. And I think that comes from also Desiree led an athletic department, and I led a team through pandemic. It was hard in the swimming and diving world. I know all sports also, but a lot of pools shut down. You just couldn't do much, and to keep student athletes motivated and believing that this was worth it during that period of time, it took a lot. And I know Desiree worked really hard. I know I worked really hard. And so I think that understanding about what this takes to go to just lay it all down for our student athletes, I think that was something that we bonded over.
Last one for me. I've never seen a swimming coach be dumped Gatorade because you're already wet, and maybe you're not as a coach. What was that experience like when the players did that?
Yeah, no, that was definitely in the swimming and diving world to get the Gatorade, dumped on you is definitely, it doesn't happen all that often, So for us, it's more usually jumping in the pool at the end. This year and last year I had both, So got the Gatorade, but then I got to jump in the pool and wash all the sticky Gatorade off. So win-win.
David?
Ben, just the Fort Aquatics piece that they have here.
Yeah.
How do you view that and the importance of that in a side-by-side relationship with your program?
Well, Tucson Fort Aquatics aside, any swimming club program in a city like Tucson, it's really critical that the University of Arizona provides opportunities for our local swimmers. That's really important. This is a larger town that feels like a small town. Am I right about that? That's been my vibe so far, And so in that sense, it's on us to really make sure that swimming and diving is being fostered in this community. The club swimming piece is big. It's a town of 1 million people. And I want all Tucson swimmers and even across the state, the Phoenix swimmers and the rest of Arizona to see this as a place where champions come, to see this as the place where they want to come and swim or dive someday. And we have a job to do there. I don't want all the Tucson swimmers to only train up in Oro Valley. That's not the vision.
And one more, I guess.
Sorry. PJ, yeah,
Yeah.
didn't see it.
So when you look to put your coaching staff together, it sounds like Coach Amanda was part of your, part of Desiree's team to hire you. I don't know if she's staying on, but what kind of people are you looking for? When
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I think Desiree already said some of the key characteristics. Those don't change. Hungry, humble, smart, hardworking. I mean, those are really critical pieces, you know. I push my staff hard, so I need people who can see around corners and are willing to really put the time in. I mean, you know, people who want an 8 to 5, like, you can't work on my staff. I really value competence. That's a high thing for me. That probably goes without saying. I mean, that's everywhere. But yeah, the people who lack a little bit in the competence category, like for me, that's tough. And you know, I really look for people who balance my personality. I think that that's critically important. When I was at UNLV, I had, this is not metrics that are kept, but just, you know, anecdotally eyeballing it, the most diverse staff in the NC2A, swimming and diving. And that's something that's important to me. And I mean diversity in all ways, not necessarily just racially, ethnically, but like coaches of different ages, different genders, you know, and different personality styles. I think that the student athletes need that. I've got a team of 60 plus student athletes. You know, this is not a small team. This is a large team. On most universities, it's the largest except for football. And it's got men and women on it. And so a diverse staff that can really, where every person who's a part of the team can find somebody to connect with, that's really critical.
What's the key to managing that staff, or that roster of 60 kids?
Having good coaches in place and having good captains and team leaders in place. That's the key. Without that, you're dead in the water.
And how quickly do you expect to have your coaching staff in place? Because, you know, I know it's May, still May, but
Yeah,
you have to get prepared, and you have
it is. Yeah.
some athletes who will be trying out for the Olympics, and a lot
Yeah.
of different things going on this summer.
Yeah. So in the sport of swimming, June 15th is our recruiting. So it's important to me that I've got not necessarily everybody, but a couple of the key players in place by June 15th, because, you know, that's when we can call the next recruiting class. And that'll be pretty critical, that there's some stability in that sense by then. This year is weird because it's an Olympic year, as you mentioned. So that is the week, that like June 15th, that is the week of Olympic trials. I think it's really important for the Arizona Wildcat swimmers in particular, that the people who have been training them up until now, this moment in time, that they get to see them through this training cycle. You know, that's really critical as well. I will be at the Olympic trials wearing the Arizona, you know, colors for sure. But the coaches who have been taking everybody to this point have done a really good job of that and need to be able to finish that out.